Okay, so I am going to work through the Chapter 1 test review. The first one wants me to solve the equation. There are two ways I can do this. I can either distribute the number first out front, or I can divide both sides by that. I'm going to choose to distribute it, so I'm going to take that 5 and multiply by the negative 5x. It's going to give me negative 25x. I'm going to do 5 times 1, which gives me a positive 5, and this still equals 35. Then I want to go ahead and subtract 5 on both sides. This is going to give me negative 25x. 35 minus 5 is 30. I want to isolate my variable because my number is being written next to the letter. This means multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is to divide both sides by negative 25. Then I just want to go ahead and do this on my calculator. I'm going to do 30 divided by negative 25. Remember when I'm typing in that negative to use the white one at the bottom of the calculator. Then I press enter, and this gives me negative 1.2. So number 2, I'm solving this equation, and it's got two things I need to distribute. So first I'm going to distribute this 6. That's going to be 6 times h is 6h. 6 times 2 is 12. Then over here, I'm going to take this number and include its sign and distribute out. So I want to go ahead and take negative 7 times negative 3, which is positive 21. And then I want to take the negative 7 and multiply by h, which gives me negative 7h. This equals 11. Because I have variables and numbers on the same side right here, I want to combine them. So I'm going to combine like terms. I have this 6h and this negative 7h. I keep the signs when they're on the same side of the equation. So 6 minus 7 gets me negative h. And then I have 12 plus 21, which gets me 33. And this equals 11. I want to go ahead and subtract the 33 on both sides. So I get negative h equals negative 22. Then I want to go ahead and get rid of that negative, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. Because remember, this h has a secret 1 out front, so I can divide by negative 1 to get rid of it. That is going to give me h equals positive 22. Okay, number 3 wants me to solve the equation, determine whether it has one solution, no solution, or infinitely many solutions. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute this negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 2n is positive 8n. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. And then this still equals the negative 8 plus 8n. I want to get all of my variables over to the same side. So I'm going to subtract 8n from both the left and the right. These cancel out over here. These cancel out over here. So I'm left with negative 8 equals negative 8. Because this is true, my answer is infinitely many solutions. And I just want to talk about this. If it had one solution, I would have gotten something like n equals 4. That would be one solution because my number equals something. No solution is when I get something like 0 equals 8. So that's not true. And then infinitely many is when I get the same number equaling itself. Number 4 wants me to solve the equation. So I'm going to start off by dividing both sides by 7 because I have to get my absolute value bars alone. Those 7s on the left side cancel out, so I'm just left with the absolute value of 2x minus 4. And then over here, 56 divided by 7 gets me 8. Then when I remove those absolute value bars, I have just the normal equation, 2x minus 4 equals 8. And then I have 2x minus 4 equals negative 8. I want to go ahead, and on this first one, I'm going to add 4 to both sides. I get 2x equals 12. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And I get x equals 6. Over here, I want to add 4 to both sides. I get 2x equals negative 4, because remember, a negative plus a positive, I keep the sign of the larger number and I subtract. Then I want to go ahead and divide both sides by 2. That's going to give me x equals negative 2. Okay, one thing I want to point out is absolute values always have two answers. Number 5 tells me the admission fee to play virtual reality is $12, and it costs an additional X dollars to rent. So this means I add X. This is going to happen for 8 people. So I'm going to take this quantity and multiply by 8, and the total would be 400. So I can either distribute or I can divide out that 8. This one I'm going to divide out 8, but if you distribute, you should get the same answer as me. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8. I'm going to do this on my calculator. So I'm going to do 400. Oops, that's one too many zeros. Divided by 8 gets me 50. So I have 12 plus X equals 50. And then I want to subtract 12 on both sides. So I get X equals 38. So it costs $38 to rent the virtual reality equipment. Okay, number 6 says a large popcorn at Fat Cats costs $9 per visit. A reusable large bucket of popcorn costs $12 plus $3 per refill. How many large popcorns will have to be purchased for the cost to be the same? So, if you buy a large popcorn every time, you're paying 9 times X dollars for the total number of visits. And the other option is I buy the reusable bucket for $12. I only have to pay that once, and then I pay $3 every time I bring my bucket in. So I want to figure out when these two values will be the same. I want to start off by subtracting 3x on both sides. That gets me 6x equals 12. Then I want to go ahead and divide both sides by 6. I get x equals 2. So 2 visits. Because I want to remember to put my answer back in terms of the word problem. Okay. Moving on. Number 7 wants me to solve the literal equation for y. So I have 5 equals 2x plus 15y. I want to start by moving anything else away. So I'm going to subtract both sides by negative 2x. So I have negative 2x plus 5 equals 15y. I want to go ahead and get my y alone, so I need to divide both sides by 15. When I do this, I want to divide every single piece by 15. That is going to give me y equals negative 2/15 x, and then plus 5/15. I can check to see if I can simplify this fraction on my calculator. I can do 5 divided by 15. I press enter. Then I want to go to press the math button. And then my first choice is frac, and I press enter twice, and it turns it back into a fraction for me, so it simplifies to 1/3. So this is my final answer here. On number 8, it wants me to write the inequality represented by this graph. It's a little tricky to see since the paper's printed in black and white, but my arrow is going like that. So this is going to the left, so it's going to be less than. This circle is filled in, so it gets a line underneath, and then it starts at -1. Number 9 says, in order to win their basketball game, the Mountain Lions must score at least 37 points, but no more than 75. Write a compound inequality that represents the number of points that the Mountain Lions can score. So my lowest number is 37. They can score it because the word at least includes, and no more than 75. So I have less than 75. Okay. This one is just a regular inequality because it says no more than, so that doesn't include 75. At least gets a line. At most gets a line. Anything else doesn't. Number 10 wants me to solve this inequality, so I'm going to start off by subtracting 3 on both sides. I get negative g over 2, which is less than 4. I want to get rid of my fraction. Remember, fractions are really division. So I'm going to multiply both sides. I'm actually going to multiply both sides by -2, because I also want to get rid of that negative at the same time. So I'm going to multiply. That is going to give me g alone. My inequality flips And then 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. It also wants me to graph it. So I'm going to put this on a number line. This is going to get an open circle because there's no line underneath, and this arrow is pointing towards the right, so it goes to the right. Number 11, I want to solve, so I'm going to start off by distributing. I have negative 2m, and then negative 2 times 8 is negative 16. Less than or equal to, the right side is not changing. I want to get all of my variables over to the same side, so I'm going to add 2m to both sides. That cancels out because they're opposite signs, same number. So I'm left with negative 16 is less than or equal to 10. This is true, negative 16 is less than 10. So because I don't have any more variables, I write infinitely many solutions. Number 12 wants me to solve the inequality in graph. So my absolute value bars are already alone. I can split this into my 2 inequalities. The first one stays the same. My second one, I write the stuff inside first. I flip the inequality symbol, and then I change the sign so it's a negative 6. Then I just solve for x. So on this first one, I add 3 to both sides. I get x is greater than 9. And then my second one, I add 3 to both sides. I get x is less than negative 3. I want to graph this on a number line. Okay. Now that I have my numbers here, I can go ahead and plot it. X is greater than 9, so that gets an open circle towards the right. And then less than negative 3, that also gets an open circle to the left. Because they're going opposite ways, I want the word or in between, and this is my final answer. Number 13 wants me to solve this inequality and graph it. It's a compound inequality involving and, so I'm going to split it into 2. I'm going to take the first part, the negative 8 greater than or equal to 1/2 x plus 2, and I'm going to solve that. And then I'm going to take the second half and solve that. So I have 1/2 times x plus 2 is greater than 7. So for this first one, I want to start off by getting rid of that fraction. Fractions are division, so the way I get rid of it is I multiply both sides by 2. That is going to be negative 16 on the left. These cancel out, and I'm left with, negative x plus 2. Then I want to subtract 2 on both sides. I have negative 18 is greater than or equal to negative x. I need my x to be positive, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. That gets me 18. The inequality sign flips when this number that I just wrote in red is negative. And then that turns into a positive x. I want to rewrite this so my x is on the left side so I can graph it. Then over here, same thing. I'm going to start off by, I'm going to draw a line to separate this. I'm going to start off by getting rid of that 1/2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. That is going to cancel out this fraction. So I have negative x plus 2 is greater than 14. Then I want to go ahead and subtract 2 on both sides. So I get negative x is greater than 12. And I want to divide both sides by negative 1. So I get x is, my inequality flips, less than negative 12. So I want to put this on a number line. I'm going to count by 3. So I have negative 12, negative 9, negative 6, negative 3, 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So my 18 gets a closed circle, opens towards the right. My negative 12 gets an open circle, goes to the left. So my final answer is x is less than negative 12, or x is greater than or equal to 18. Number 14 wants me to solve and graph, so it has an or statement in between. I'm going to solve them individually and then go ahead and graph. So this first one, I add 7 to both sides. I have 2x is less than 30. I want to divide both sides by 2. I get x is less than 15. Over here, I add 5. I have negative 2x is greater than or equal to 10. I want to divide both sides by negative 2. I have x is less than or equal to negative 5. So I want to graph this on my number line again. Okay, so I'm going to count by by 5. So I have negative 5, 5, 10, 15. So my 15 gets an open circle, opens towards the left. Over here, my negative 5 gets a closed circle, again opens to the left. Because these are overlapping, I want to take the one that covers more, which is the 15. So my final answer here is just the x is less than negative 15.